So we started with the fierce people from the north, the Vikings, and their influence on English vocab. Today, I would like to continue here. So here we go. Yeah? Nordic influence on the English vocabulary today, all due, of course, to the Viking invasions, you have to say that, between 800 and 1000. Okay, first of all, we have to say that those two languages, Anglo-Saxon and Nordic, they were related, of course, yeah? Both of northern stock, Anglo-Saxon being a West Germanic language, as is English today, of course, and the language the Vikings spoke, a northern language, northern Germanic language, but still related through a common ancestral language, which we would call Proto-Germanic, Common Germanic, something like that. So yes, they're closely related, and this means, of course, that languages which are closely related, they mix easily. Yeah, of course they do. This is, by the way, probably one reason, not the only one, but one reason why there is so little influence of Celtic on English, on Old English, although there was, of course, must have been a very close relation. I mean, people usually say politically the Anglo-Saxons are either killed or enslaved. The Celts, when they took over in the 5th century, and you don't take over words from the underclass. Sorry for that. Yeah. This may be partly true, but I think still one of the reasons is, I mean, Celtic and Germanic, they are very far apart. And you cannot as easily integrate words of Celtic into English or Old English or Anglo-Saxon or whatever as you could northern words, Viking words, okay? And here they are. Look at those. I mean, these are all English words of northern stock. Yeah, take, give, get, yeah, die, hug, call, lift, sky, knife, axe, slaughter, skirt, leg, window, ugly, ill, happy, scare, bask, skull, skin, they, them, there. You can go on. Yeah. Just look at the first three, and there you see the big thing. Can you have a decent conversation without take, give, get? Wow. They are so basic, these words, that you can't even speak without them. Yeah? Even more so, pronouns. Yeah? They, them, there. We talked about those when we talked about pronouns early on. But they, them, there, I mean, you cannot speak without these. Hardly. Okay, they, them, there. And all the others. Yes, so hardly a conversation possible without Scandinavian words. We said before, you can very well speak without French words these days. But you have to use Anglo-Saxon and Scandinavian, Viking, Northern, or Norse, Old Norse, whatever you want to call this, Viking language. No way to do that. And you already see, I mean, what kind of words they are. Yeah? Usually words concerned with either warfare, some of this, or trade. Everyday things. Window. The wind eye. How beautiful is that? Okay. You have doublets this way. Doublets means that you take words, you still have them along. Anglo-Saxon word and the northern word. And that both still exist, although their meaning usually differs, if only slightly. Yeah? But if you look at this, edge and egg are the same word. Yeah? Edge, Anglo-Saxon, egg. Yeah, Scandinavian. Ditch and dike. Church and kirk still plays a role. You see the northern influence on Scotland, Scottish kirk, of course, yes. because, I mean, the further north you go on the British Isles, the bigger the Scandinavian influence becomes. Shirt, skirt, a very common one. Shirt, Anglo-Saxon. Skirt, Viking. But the same words, but usually you see a slight difference here. Skirt and shirt. I mean, you know this. Or shatter and scatter and so on. There are others. But there you already see, I mean, how close those two languages were. And that sometimes, I mean, they still exist side by side. Okay, there's that. So paradox is, although there are only 200 to 300 Scandinavian words in English compared to hundreds of thousands of French words, Scandinavian is still more important. Why? Okay, you can very well speak without words like prevaricate, procrastinate, or reciprocate. Well, you don't need them. But, I mean, try to speak without get, take, or lay them there. This is impossible. Prevaricate, we can do without. Okay, so this is only by way of introduction here. And then, of course, the next big influence, first of all, Anglo-Saxon, of course, native stock, then the Vikings came, and then those blokes here, the Normans. Originally Vikings, but who were Frenchified and brought the French language with them in 1066. So the Normans spoke French and stuck with it in England for hundreds of years. And you still have very many family names today which go back to the Norman invaders, as you have Butler, Gascoigne, Gerard, Chaucer, or even Shakespeare, or the patronymic. We talked about this. Fitz, we'll be talking about this. Norman, son of Fitzgerald, Fitzwilliam, Fitzherbert, and so on. Yes, you still feel the Normans in family names, loads of those, and even in the most common first names, by the way. Richard, Tom, William. Okay. Oh, yes. I mean, those were the most common first names after the Norman invasion, of course, and these are the ones the Normans brought with them. But why did they stick with French for so long? I mean, they had adopted it in a century or something in the north of France, and then they went to the British Isles and stuck with French for 300, 400 years. And we should not underestimate that when it comes to prestige. Language has a lot to do with prestige. And French had the highest prestige in medieval times on the European continent and then on the British Isles. I mean, English was just a negligible language spoken on the British Isles, which nobody cared about, really. So French, yes. If you're French, I mean, you would not give up this tongue for English. Inconceivable. Okay. The influence of the Norman conquest on the English vocabulary, as I said, this is of a higher register. So not everyday words, they are Germanic, okay, but higher register, and yet there you can see this. So you take the Germanic word, work, for example, and then the Normans brought labor, okay, or ask, and then you just think how many words of French origin you may use for ask, demand, inquire, query. I don't know. It's all French. Very many. Or just how many words you have for get. Get, receive, procure, retrieve. I don't know, hundreds, probably, which you may use depending on the context. But there is get, a Scandinavian word, by the way. And the word fields are military, of course. Yeah, makes perfect sense. Yeah, alarm, alarm, French, alarm, which means to the weapons. Okay, alarm, French. Yeah, sergeant, lieutenant, colonel, artillery, cavalry, and so on. In the administration, of course, government, empire, authority, treason, exile, chancellor, treasurer, minister. In the law, judge, advocate, attorney, something like that. And very often in the cuisine, pig, pork, cow, beef, deer, venison. I mean, the funny thing is, you eat the Germanic, you kill the Germanic animal, a pig, but you eat the French, pork, okay? You kill a cow, but you eat beef. Kill a deer, but you eat venison, yeah? So, there you see, there's that. And in fashion, a gown and boots, and this makes sense, of course, courtly fashion, at the Norman court, that is caught on, of course it did. So yes, so once again, the three basic layers of English vocabulary today are Anglo-Saxon, Northern, okay, and then French. And later on, we'll be talking about that in videos which are going to follow. In learned discourse, I mean, you get Latin then later on, in the Renaissance and so on. Latin, and don't underestimate Greek. How important that is gonna be. Okay, yeah. So we'll take it from here.